My mother's attorney called at 9:14 Thursday morning to tell me I was being sued for elder financial abuse. I was pouring coffee. My first thought wasn't panic, it was a number. $38,000. That's what Mom spent on my sister Victoria's wedding while telling me she couldn't afford to help with mine. The attorney's name was Richard Pemberton. $400 an hour voice. He said my mother had bank statements proving I'd supported her for years, then abandoned her without warning. That cutting off an elderly woman on a fixed income could constitute abuse. I asked if she'd mentioned why I stopped paying. He said financial disagreements didn't excuse what I'd done. I asked if she'd mentioned my sister. Silence. Then, I wasn't aware you had a sister. I set down the coffee pot. Her name is Victoria. She lives 20 minutes from Mom in a condo with a doorman. Ask Mom how much she spent on Victoria's wedding. Ask where that money came from. Then call me back if you still think I'm the problem. I hung up. The coffee had overflowed, spreading across the counter, dripping onto the tile. I watched it fall, each drop hitting the floor like a timer counting down. 6 months ago, I'd found a check in Mom's desk. $3,000 made out to Victoria. Memo line, venue deposit. Dated 2 weeks before Mom told me she was too broke to contribute to my wedding. That check started everything. Now it was ending in court. My name is Rachel Winters, and this is what happens when the daughter who pays finally stops paying. The payments started small. Mom retired early at 62, said her office job had worn her down. A month later, she mentioned her phone bill had jumped. Could I help just until she figured out her new budget? $90 a month. I added it to autopay. Then car insurance. She'd bundled her policy with mine, but I ended up paying both portions. $200 a month. Then streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, HBO. Then lawn service after Dad died. Then quarterly pest control. I never calculated the total until the day I found Victoria's wedding folder. Roughly $700 a month for 4 years. $33,600. Victoria worked in pharmaceutical sales. BMW with leather seats that smelled like new money. Downtown condo with floor-to-ceiling windows. She took Mom to brunch every Sunday at the place with $18 mimosas. Her Instagram was mother-daughter photos, champagne flutes, sunset backgrounds, captions about being blessed. I'd never seen Victoria pay for anything of Mom's. Marcus, my fiancé, taught high school English. I transcribed medical dictations from our spare bedroom. We'd been saving for our wedding for 2 years. 50 people maximum. Backyard reception. I hot-glued burlap to mason jars and watched YouTube tutorials on bouquets. My consignment dress still had the previous bride's alterations pinned inside. Mom had offered to proofread our invitations. Told me wedding favors were wasteful. Suggested we skip a professional photographer. Didn't everyone have phone cameras now? Victoria's wedding had an ice sculpture of 2 swans. A 12-piece band. 7 bridesmaids in rose-colored silk at $300 per dress. 3 years ago, before I found the folder, there was Victoria's engagement party. Mom hosted it at the country club. I'd assumed Victoria and Derek had paid for the venue, but Mom kept mentioning choices she'd made. The crab cakes she'd selected. The champagne she'd approved. When Victoria gave her speech, she thanked Mom for making all of this possible. I thought she meant emotionally possible. I'd been engaged to Marcus for 6 months. Mom had never offered to host anything for us. When I'd mentioned maybe having an engagement party, she'd looked confused. Do people still do those? I thought that was more of a different generation thing. At Victoria's party, I noticed Mom's bracelet. White gold with small diamonds catching light every time she lifted her wine glass. Victoria wore a matching one. When I complimented them, Victoria smiled. Mom bought them as engagement gifts. A new tradition, something for both of us to wear on our wedding days. I looked at my bare wrist. 6 months engaged. Victoria had been engaged for 3 weeks. Mom squeezed my shoulder. We found them on sale, and I wanted to grab one for you too, sweetheart, but they were out of your size. I have one on order. Should be here in a few weeks. 4 months later, I asked about it. Mom waved her hand dismissively. Oh, honey, those were so overpriced once I really thought about it. Too extravagant. You understand. Victoria still wore hers every Sunday. I could see it in the brunch photos, glinting next to her water glass. I thought about my 10th birthday. Victoria had gotten a party at the skating rink, 20 kids, pizza, a custom cake. I'd gotten dinner at Pizza Hut with just family. Mom said I'd told her I didn't want a big party. I'd been too young to know I was supposed to want one. The pattern had always been there. I'd just learned not to see it. I went back to Mom's house the day after I found the check. She was at book club. I let myself in with the spare key. The folder was exactly where I'd left it. Behind the check were printed emails. Victoria had been CCNG Mom on every wedding decision from the beginning. Vendor contracts, menu tastings, color schemes. Mom's responses were detailed, enthusiastic, involved. The chicken option sounds elegant, but the beef will photograph better. I agree. White roses for the ceremony, blush for the reception. Let's definitely do the champagne toast during cocktail hour. There was a spreadsheet. Wedding budget master. Color-coded categories. Final total, $42,000. Mom's contribution, $38,000. Derek's parents had covered the rehearsal dinner and bar. I photographed every page. My hands shook enough that I had to retake several shots. That Sunday, Mom called. "Sweetheart, have you picked your wedding cake yet? I saw this recipe on Pinterest for a naked cake that looked so charming. We could bake it together if you want." I asked what Victoria's cake had been like. Oh, it was stunning. 5 tiers from that bakery in Charleston, the one that did the governor's daughter's wedding. The sugar flowers looked so real I nearly tried to smell one. She laughed. I asked if it was expensive. I honestly don't know. Victoria and Derek handled all those vendor details. I just showed up and cried happy tears. I said that must have been nice. It was perfect. Oh, have you thought about flowers? I have some silk peonies in my garage from a centerpiece I did years ago. You could use those and fill in with baby's breath from Publix. That night, I opened my banking app and went back 4 years. Every automatic payment. Insurance. Lawn service at $120 monthly. Pest control at $90 quarterly. Cloud storage. Meal kit subscription. Costco membership. AAA. Every Christmas present she'd hinted about wanting. I made my own spreadsheet. What I paid? $33,600 across 48 months. I'd funded 88% of my sister's wedding and never known it. I didn't tell Marcus for 3 days. He knew something was wrong. I kept my laptop closed when he walked into the room, and I'd stopped talking during dinner. But I needed to be certain before I said it out loud. I needed to be calm. Because if I said it angry, I'd sound jealous. Petty. Like the difficult daughter who kept score. But I was keeping score now. Every receipt had a name on it. Wednesday afternoon, I called my bank. The representative who answered sounded young, cheerful. I asked about stopping automatic payments. She walked me through the process. Each cancellation would take 1 business day to process. I could do them all at once through the online portal. Did I want to proceed? Not yet. I just wanted to know how. I called the insurance company. Asked what would happen if I removed myself from Mom's policy. The agent pulled up the account, put me on hold for 2 minutes, came back with numbers. Mom's rate would increase from $200 to $515 a month. She'd lose the multi-car discount, the bundling benefit, the longevity credit that came from having me as a low-risk driver on the policy. When could changes take effect? Any time. 10 days notice required. I thanked her and hung up. Marcus found me at the kitchen table that night. Laptop open. 3 pages of handwritten notes. A calculator. The wedding folder printed out and spread across the surface like evidence at a crime scene. He sat down across from me and waited. I showed him the photos of Mom's spreadsheet. Then my bank statements. Then the math. He studied everything for a long time. Finally, "What do you want to do?" "I want to stop paying for her life." "Are you going to talk to her first?" I shook my head. Talking means explaining. I don't owe her an explanation for how I spend my money. She never gave me one for how she spent hers. She'll call when the bills don't get paid. I know. Marcus reached across the table and covered my hand with his. Okay, then we do it your way. My cousin Jennifer lived 2 hours north in Jacksonville. We met at a coffee shop halfway on a Saturday. I brought a manila folder with printouts, Mom's spreadsheet, my bank statements, the emails, the math. She ordered a latte and didn't touch it while she read. When she finished, she stacked the pages between us. She had that expression from family dinners, the one that meant she was choosing words carefully. "How long have you known?" 2 weeks. "And you haven't confronted her?" "No." Jennifer sat back, crossed her arms. "Rachel, this isn't just favoritism. This is financial exploitation dressed up as family support." She's been using you as a subsidy while investing in Victoria's milestones. I asked if I was wrong to be angry. You're not angry enough. Most people would have burned her house down by now. Why haven't you said anything? Because I don't want to seem like I'm comparing myself to Victoria. I don't want to make Mom choose. She already chose. Years ago. You're just finally seeing the receipts. I wrapped both hands around my coffee cup. The ceramic was warm. Solid. What do I do? What do you want the outcome to be? I want to stop paying. I want her to understand why. I want her to admit what she did. I paused. I want her to apologize. Jennifer's face softened. You might not get those last three things. People who play favorites don't usually admit it. They reframe it. Make it about the other person's needs or worthiness. They'll make you the villain for noticing. So what do I do? Stop paying immediately. No explanation. When she asks, give her facts only. I can no longer afford to cover these expenses. That's it. Not you paid for Victoria's wedding. Not this isn't fair. Just the boundary. No justification. She'll try to make me feel guilty. Absolutely. She'll bring up your dad's death. Her fixed income. Everything she sacrificed. She'll paint Victoria as the grateful daughter and you as the selfish one. How do I not react? Jennifer picked up her latte, took a slow sip. You don't defend yourself. You don't argue. You repeat the boundary. I can no longer afford this. She can't debate you out of your own financial reality. She set the cup down. The truth is, she's going to be angry. She's going to feel betrayed. She's going to tell people you abandoned her. None of that is your problem. Will we ever be okay again? You were never okay. You just didn't know it yet. I canceled everything on a Monday morning. Logged into my bank portal at 6:47 a.m. before I could second-guess myself. Phone bill. Car insurance. Netflix. Hulu. HBO. Lawn service. Pest control. Cloud storage. Meal kit subscription. Every single automatic payment. 16 clicks. Done in 4 minutes. I sent one text. Hi Mom, I've had to make some budget changes and won't be able to cover the expenses I've been helping with. The autopays will stop this billing cycle. Love you. She called 11 minutes later. Rachel, honey, what's going on? Are you and Marcus having money problems? We're fine. We just need to prioritize our own expenses right now. But sweetheart, I'm on a fixed income. You know how tight things are. I can't afford the phone bill on my own. I understand that's difficult. You might need to look at less expensive plans. Her voice shifted. Got smaller. Rachel, this is my phone. What if there's an emergency? There are prepaid options for around $30 a month. Long pause. I could hear her breathing. I don't understand why you're doing this. Did I do something to upset you? No. I just can't afford to pay for 2 households anymore. But you've been doing it for years. Nothing's changed. Our wedding is in 3 weeks. That's what changed. Another pause. Longer this time. When she spoke again, her voice had that careful, wounded quality she used when she wanted you to know you'd hurt her. I offered to help you bake a cake. I offered you those silk flowers. You didn't want my help. That's not the same as financial help. Well, Rachel, I'm sorry I can't write you a big check the way some parents can. I'm doing the best I can with what I have. I know you are. I'm also doing the best I can with what I have. Silence. Then, Victoria never makes me feel guilty about money. Something in my chest went very still. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm letting you know the payments are stopping. I see. Her voice was ice now. Well, I'll figure it out. I always do. I hope you and Marcus have a beautiful wedding with your discount flowers and your phone pictures. Thank you. I love you. She hung up without saying it back. Victoria called that night. I was washing dishes. Marcus handed me the phone with a look that said he'd tried to warn her off. Mom called me crying. Victoria's voice was sharp. Professional. The voice she used to close sales. She said you cut off her phone service. That you abandoned her. What the hell, Rachel? I dried my hands slowly. How much do you think Mom contributed to your wedding? That's none of your business. $38,000. Silence. I know because I saw her spreadsheet. Every email you sent her. Every receipt. Mom had been saving for my wedding. And when I asked her 2 weeks ago if she could contribute to mine, she said money was too tight. Maybe it got tight after my wedding. I laughed. Couldn't help it. I paid Mom's phone bill last month. And her car insurance. And her lawn service. I've been paying them for 4 years. Did you know that? Pause. Mom never mentioned it. No, I imagine she didn't. $700 a month for 48 months. What you choose to do with your money is my business. Exactly. That's why I'm stopping. Victoria's voice went cold. You're being spiteful. Your wedding was always going to be small, you chose that. We chose what we could afford. If I'd had $38,000, I might have chosen differently. You're making an old woman choose between her phone and her groceries because you're jealous. She can call you if she needs help. I just bought a house. I don't have, she stopped. You don't have extra money. I know. Neither do I. Not anymore. She hung up. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. You okay? I nodded. But my hands were shaking. Mom didn't call for 2 weeks. Neither did Victoria. Then my Aunt Linda called, Mom's younger sister, the one who'd married a plumber instead of a lawyer. Your mother had to downgrade her phone, cancel the lawn service, drop comprehensive coverage on her car. Linda's voice was flat. She's humiliated. She's telling everyone you abandoned her, but she won't say why. And I'm tired of watching this family pretend. Pretend what? Linda sighed. Rachel, your mother has always favored Victoria. Since you were kids. I used to tell her to be more careful, but she'd act like I was imagining things. Like what? Victoria got the bigger bedroom when you moved. You cried for a week. Your mom said Victoria needed more space for her clothes. Victoria got a car at 16. You got a shared one at 18. Victoria's college was fully paid. Yours was half paid. I'd known all this. Lived it. But hearing someone else say it made it real differently. Why didn't anyone say anything? We did. She didn't want to hear it. She'd say Victoria needed more support because she was more ambitious. That investing in her would pay off for everyone. And me. You're the dependable one. The one who pays the bills quietly without needing credit. I was standing in my kitchen. The same place I'd canceled the payments. I could see my reflection in the window, dim and ghostly. I'm not paying them anymore. Good, Linda said. Someone needed to stop enabling this years ago. I'm sorry it had to be you. Mom called 3 weeks before the wedding. I was at Target when my phone rang. I almost didn't answer. Rachel. Her voice was soft. Careful. Can we talk? In person? I don't want this distance between us on your wedding day. You're my daughter. I love you. Please. I met her at a cafe I'd never been to, neutral territory. She was already there, sitting in a corner booth with untouched tea. The liquid was completely still. She looked smaller than I remembered. Thinner. Her hands trembled when she reached for the cup. Rachel, sweetheart, I don't understand what I did wrong. I sat down. You paid for Victoria's wedding while telling me you couldn't help with mine. Victoria needed more help. Her wedding was bigger. Derek's family expected certain things. I've been paying your bills for 4 years. You offered to help me. I never asked you to do that. You accepted it. You built your budget around it. And you never mentioned that at the same time, you were spending $40,000 on Victoria. Mom's jaw tightened. That was my money. My savings. I can spend it however I want. You're right. And I can spend my money however I want. That's why I stopped. You're punishing me. Did you tell Victoria you couldn't afford to help her? Mom looked down at her tea. Did you ever tell her no? Suggest she do something smaller, cheaper, something she could afford herself. Victoria has always had high standards. I wanted her day to be perfect. What about my day? Mom's face did something complicated. Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. You and Marcus are different. You don't care about fancy things. You've always been more practical. I'm practical because I've had to be. You never gave me another option. That's not fair, Rachel. I raised you to be independent. Strong. To not need constant validation like Victoria does. Something hot and sharp rose in my throat. You raised me to expect less. Mom started crying. Real tears she didn't try to hide. I've done my best. I'm sorry if you felt overlooked, but I've always loved you both equally. I gave each of you what you needed. Victoria needed $40,000. I needed honesty about where that money came from. That's all I needed. She pulled a tissue from her purse. Dabbed at her eyes. I can't change the past. But I want to move forward. I can give you something for the wedding. $1,000. I can manage that. I don't want it. She looked up, confused. I don't want $1,000 because you feel guilty. I don't want the silk flowers or the cake recipe or suggestions to make my wedding cheaper, so you feel better. I want you to say it out loud. I want you to acknowledge what you did. I don't know what you mean. Say you paid for Victoria's entire wedding while I paid your phone bill. Say you let me subsidize your lifestyle while you invested in hers. Say it. Mom's tears stopped. Her face went very still. She leaned forward. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper, but every word was clear. You want the truth? Fine. Victoria was worth investing in. She had potential. She was going places. She still is. She paused. You were always going to be fine. Mediocre, but fine. Steady. Why would I spend $40,000 on fine when I could spend it on extraordinary? The cafe went quiet. Or maybe my ears stopped working. I couldn't tell. I stood up. My legs felt strange, hollow and heavy at the same time. I had to grip the back of the chair for a second before I could walk. Then I guess we're done here. Mom stared at me. Then she stood, pulled her purse onto her shoulder, and walked out. Left her full cup of tea on the table, still steaming. I sat back down. Stayed for another 20 minutes. Watched the tea go cold. Watched the foam on top deflate and disappear. My hands didn't shake. That's what surprised me most. They were completely steady. Mom came to the wedding. Navy blue dress. Back row next to Aunt Linda. She didn't cry during the ceremony. Didn't stay for the reception. I watched her leave during the first dance, slipping out the side gate while everyone watched Marcus spin me under the string lights. Victoria didn't come. She sent a card, cream-colored, embossed, with a $50 Visa gift card. The note said, "Wishing you every happiness. Sorry we couldn't make it work." Aunt Linda had made centerpieces without telling me. Real flowers in vintage mason jars from estate sales. She said she'd wanted me to have something beautiful. That I deserved it. The wedding was perfect. Small and simple and full of people who loved both of us. Marcus's college roommate cried during the vows. Our friend Sarah had learned 3 songs on guitar for the ceremony. We served barbecue from Marcus's favorite place, and had public sheet cake that was better than it had any right to be. I thought about Mom once, cutting the cake. Wondered if she was calling Victoria to report on how small everything had been. 2 months later, she called about her car. The transmission had died. $4,000. She didn't have it. Could I help? She'd pay me back. I said no. Rachel, please. I don't have anyone else to ask. Victoria just bought a house and she's stretched thin. You can get a loan. Or a payment plan. I've never asked you for much. I almost laughed. You've asked me for plenty. For 4 years. You just never acknowledged it was asking. So you're going to punish me forever? Let me be stranded. You're not stranded. You're inconvenienced. There's a difference. I raised you better than this. No, I said. You raised me to accept less and call it gratitude. I'm done with that. She hung up. Victoria called 40 minutes later. You're heartless. Mom is stranded without a car. Family helps family. Then help her. I just bought a house, Rachel. I don't have $4,000 lying around. Neither do I. Not anymore. At least I turned out decent. You turned out funded. There's a difference. I blocked both numbers after that. Aunt Linda told me Mom borrowed money from 3 different relatives. Different story for each one. In one version, Marcus had forbidden me from helping. In another, I was having a breakdown. In the third, I'd always been jealous and was finally showing my true colors. Linda said none of them believed her. They'd all watched this dynamic for years. 6 months later, the attorney called. Richard Pemberton with his expensive voice. Ms. Winters, I'm calling to inform you that your mother has decided not to pursue legal action. I see. She wanted you to know she'd consulted with me. That she wanted you to understand the seriousness of the matter. And you advised her not to file. Pause. I did, yes. Because of Victoria. Longer pause. Ms. Winters, if your mother had filed, discovery would have been extensive. The optics of a $38,000 wedding expenditure, while simultaneously claiming financial hardship and elder abandonment, would have been problematic. Very problematic. He cleared his throat. I recommended she not pursue it. Strongly. Did you tell her that? I did. She wasn't pleased. I imagine not. Thank you for calling, Mr. Pemberton. Ms. Winters? For what it's worth, you were right to stop. What she was doing wasn't sustainable. Or fair. I thanked him and hung up. That's when I knew it was really over. It's been 2 years. Mom and I don't speak. Victoria sends Christmas cards with printed family photos and gold foil messages. I don't open them anymore. Aunt Linda keeps me updated on essentials, health issues, major events, but I don't ask for details. Marcus and I bought a house last spring. Small, 1-story, with a yard big enough for raised garden beds. I grow tomatoes and peppers and herbs now. Things that require patience and attention and produce something real. Every Sunday morning I go out with my coffee and check on them. Pull weeds, tie up vines, pick off hornworms with my bare hands. I think about Dad sometimes. He died when I was 22, before I understood family patterns well enough to recognize them. There's one memory I keep returning to, my college graduation. Dad had taken me to dinner afterward, just the two of us. Victoria had left for a party. Mom had been tired and went home. Dad ordered champagne, the good kind, not the cheap stuff he usually got, and made a toast to my independence. At the time I thought it was generic father-daughter sentiment. Now I wonder if he was trying to tell me something. If he saw what was coming and wanted me to be ready. The money I'm not spending on Mom's bills goes into savings now. Marcus and I are planning a trip to Iceland for our 5th anniversary. Northern Lights. Hot springs. Something we couldn't have dreamed of affording before. Mom sent a message through Aunt Linda 6 months ago. She wanted to reconcile. She missed me. She wanted to be part of our lives again. I asked if she'd acknowledged what she'd done. Linda said no. Mom was still calling it a misunderstanding. Still insisting she'd had legitimate reasons for the financial differences. I said then there was nothing to reconcile. That reconciliation required both people to agree on what happened. Mom wanted me to accept her version of reality. I wasn't interested anymore. Linda asked what she should tell her. Tell her I need honesty. When she's ready to be honest about what she did and why she did it, she knows where to find me. Mom hasn't reached out. I don't think she will. People who've built their identity around a particular story don't easily rewrite the ending. Mom needs to believe she was a fair mother who treated her daughters equally. She needs to believe Victoria's success validates her investment strategy. She needs to believe I'm ungrateful and difficult. I've stopped needing her to see me differently. Last week I planted a magnolia tree in the backyard. The kind with white flowers that smell like lemons. The nursery guy told me magnolias are temperamental. They don't transplant well. You have to plant them where they'll stay and hope the roots take. It won't bloom for another 2 years, but I'll be here when it does. Watering it, tending it, watching it grow into something beautiful. I'm done transplanting myself into soil that was never meant for me. That's the difference between us, maybe. Mom invested in things that would bloom immediately, spectacularly, with witnesses. I'm learning to invest in things that take time. That grow slowly. That don't need an audience to be worth the care. I still have the check from Mom's desk. The $3,000 one made out to Victoria for the wedding venue. It's in a frame on my office wall now. Not because I'm bitter, but because I never want to forget what people will fund and what they'll make you fund yourself. Some people measure love in ice sculptures and 5-tier cakes. Others measure it in who pays the phone bill when nobody's watching. Mom paid $40,000 for Victoria to have one perfect day. She paid $40 a month, so I could answer her calls. The math told me everything I needed to know. I hope this story has shown you how deep betrayal can cut, and the high price of family secrets left unresolved. What would you have done if you were in Rachel's shoes? Would you have held on or walked away? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for staying with me until the very end. If you want more gripping stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.